If you've ever struggled with the crippling fear of starting that scary new thing, then I promise you're not alone. Fear is a powerful emotion, and today we're going to discuss what's holding you back from just getting started. Now, fear or dislike of anything new or unfamiliar is also known as neophobia. There really wasn't any need for me to tell you that. I just figured I had to say that to make myself sound smart. For many people, this is a crippling fear, and it stops people all over the world from putting themselves out there and trying new things. Now, I'm no different, as it took me several years to finally work up the courage to start this YouTube channel and to put myself out there. At the time, I didn't realize the steps that I took to finally get over my fear and allow myself to move forward. Now, fortunately for you, I've decided to sit down and figure out how I overcame that fear and got myself into gear. Now, with all that out of the way, let's go over the 5 fears that were holding me back and quite possibly are doing the same to you right now. Number 1, fear of failing. I find it fascinating how as human beings, we would rather continue the course towards mediocrity instead of taking on new challenges that have the potential for failure. It's just naturally easier to do what you're comfortable with, to include things that have a high degree of success. Not only that, but we're also taught from a young age to seek that low-hanging fruit and to take the path of least resistance. This isn't necessarily bad advice when used correctly, but more often than not, this advice is used to our detriment. I've talked a lot about failure on this channel, and I'll continue to do so because I think it's such an undervalued tool. I wish I had taken the time earlier in life to write down the fears that were holding me back from starting this channel. Instead of admitting to myself that I was afraid of failing, I spent years trying multiple get-rich-quick businesses that all ultimately failed. In the end, I did find a way to overcome this fear, and it's the same method I used for all 5 of the fears we're going to discuss here today. The method I landed on was playing the worst-case scenario game with myself. Anytime I felt that fear of failure creeping in, I'd ask myself, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? So let's use this YouTube channel as an example. What is the worst thing that could happen if I failed? Well, there are any number of things I could pull from, but the one that stood out to me the most was if I failed at this channel, then I wouldn't be able to reach my long-term goals. I've always been a big dreamer, and so far, the only thing that I felt like I was able to do to maximize my impact on the world was through using YouTube as a medium. Now, if that failed, where would that leave me? Well, turns out it doesn't leave me anywhere, except back at square one. I could always cut my losses and try again. Failing doesn't have to be permanent. It's only final when we give up and we don't try again. Number 2, fear of the unknown. You know what's easy? Doing the exact same routine day after day because it's familiar and comfortable. Now, routines don't have to be a bad thing. Routines give us structure, which turns into discipline, which can turn into increased productivity, focus, and efficiency. Now, that's wonderful in theory, but in practice, routines end up making us lazy. When there is zero conscious effort required to live and work, the mind and body become soft and weak. This is exactly what happened to me when I was working my old 9-to-5 career. The job paid all right and I was good at it, but eventually I became the go-to person for a very specific type of work and that type of work only. Now, pretty soon, without even realizing it, I developed a fear of branching out and trying new things. Our jobs are such a massive consumer of our time that the way we feel at work tends to bleed over into other aspects of our lives. I had convinced myself that I could only do one thing well, and therefore I shouldn't try to push myself for more. This fear crept into my mind and prevented me from starting this channel. So yet again, here we go with the exercise. What's the worst thing that could happen? Well, the worst thing that could happen is that I do nothing at all and everything just stays the same. I will have missed out on the possibility of maximizing my potential. There's so much that I want to do with this one life that I'm given, and by letting the fear of the unknown keep me from trying at all, I risk losing out on an amazing life. Everything good and worth having in life doesn't come without a certain level of risk attached to it. The thing is, unless you try, you're never gonna know. Number 3, fear of public exposure. One of the most crippling situations most people actively avoid is public speaking. It's just not a natural thing to do. Most people would rather take a hit in the shins than to be forced to speak in front of a group. Like most of you probably watching right now, I grew up with confidence issues. I spoke and dressed and thought different than most people my own age, and it really didn't get better as I got older. Throughout college, I was constantly surrounded by classmates and teachers and coworkers and bosses who seemed to go out of their way to let me know I was strange or stupid or both. Now, combine that with me being a skinny kid growing up, and as you can imagine, my self-confidence wasn't all that great. But despite all that, I'm here right now talking to all of you. I came to a couple of conclusions. One, what is the worst thing that could happen if I started this channel? Public ridicule, right? That's the worst thing that could happen. I'd have people make fun of me and hurt my feelings, hurt my self-esteem. Now, this one was actually pretty easy for me to debunk. Anytime I think of them making fun of me for starting this YouTube channel, I just think to myself, well, I'd like to see them try to stand in front of this camera and try to sound natural. You know, let them have their say, because in the end, it's only words. Actions speak louder than words. And And until they get behind that camera and put in the work, their words are meaningless. Now, number 2, like anything else in life, public speaking gets easier with practice. People are generally more forgiving than we'd like to give them credit for. I got better at public speaking through giving office presentations and running meetings. And once I started filming more and more YouTube videos, my growth kicked into overdrive. Practice makes perfect, and that includes public speaking. 3, I'd be doing the world a disservice if I didn't share what I had to offer. I'm a firm believer in that everyone has a talent or gift that they can share with others. Society progresses faster when ideas are shared, and as much as I'd like this channel to grow into something massive one day, in the end, I can honestly say that I feel compelled to do this regardless of the outcome. If I have the ability to help even one person to make a decision that changes the course of their life forever, then why wouldn't I share what I know with the rest of the world? Number 4, fear of commitment. Now, this one is a little strange because it's pretty easy to confuse it with fear of failure. That's like saying, I'm afraid to commit to this thing if I keep trying and failing at it. I don't want to waste time and money on this thing if I can't get anything out of it. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I mean by fear of commitment. When we say we have a fear of commitment, what you're actually saying is you are afraid of what you'll have to sacrifice in exchange for the thing that you want. You're afraid to commit to a diet because you don't want to give up your favorite unhealthy snacks. You're afraid of going to the gym because it'll require you to give up some of your precious spare time. You're afraid of starting that business on the side because you don't want to give up some of your relaxation time after work or a couple extra hours of sleep. My commitment fear was I didn't want to give up my hobbies. I love cars, I love motorcycles, and really anything with an engine. I absolutely love it. But as much as I loved having a couple cool cars and several motorcycles in my garage, my extra time was spent either enjoying my material possessions or, more often than not, I was in the garage maintaining them. I have a set of principles that I learned from the military called the 3 to 5 rule. This rule states that you can only effectively pursue 3 to 5 things at any given time. Any more than that, and the quality goes down dramatically. So I had a choice to make. Do I keep my material possessions and the hobbies that I love, or do I practice what I teach and truly live the 3 to 5 rule? Now, hopefully the fact that this video exists at all confirms the choice that I made. Family, work, YouTube. Those are the 3 things I chose to put my focus on in that order of importance. I love you guys to death, and this channel is so near and dear to my heart, but my family comes first, and my career currently puts food on the table to feed my family. Now, that said, there is more than enough time in the morning before work and evenings after work for me to script out some videos, to edit, to learn some new skills, to film. These are all new things that I can be doing that are applicable to this channel. I am and will remain committed to this channel because in the end, nothing in life worth having comes easy. I've tried easy business models in the past. Nothing about this channel is easy. Nothing. That's got to mean that it's going to succeed, right? Number 5, fear of success. More money, more problems, right? Well, what would happen if you actually succeeded? Like, would you be financially changed as a result? Would people treat you different? What about haters? Would your friends and family look at you different, look for some handouts? All of that's a possibility. People who travel that conditional path in life will look to you to fill in those gaps that their own lives lack. This could be through monetary means or through emotional ones. But again, what's the worst thing that could happen? No matter how hard you fight it, whether you achieve massive success or not, the people in your life will change. You cannot prevent this from happening because you have no control over the actions of people. I get it. It's a scary thing to think about losing friends. Even family might treat you different, but that's okay. Because in time, you're going to find your true inner circle and grow closer to them. A bond will form that is stronger than what was there before. There's no reason to fear success. Embrace it as another chapter for you to grow, and you're going to thank yourself later. Fear is such a powerful emotion, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's not. It's scary to come to terms with your fears and to take deliberate action to overcome them. Anytime you find yourself paralyzed by fear, just take a moment and think to yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Address it, and then you'll be able to more easily overcome it. Now, guys, as always, I sincerely appreciate all of you. Maybe this was helpful to you, maybe it wasn't. Either way, I wasn't gonna let my fears get in the way of me putting this video out there in the world. I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all take it easy.